Okay, well, my name's Ted. I'm the County Veteran Service Officer in Solano County, and I've been doing this job for about 13 years. I'm not the end-all, be-all expert on everything, but, I do this every day, and I have a good working knowledge of stuff. And there's other people out there with more knowledge than me, and every time I go and talk to a group, I learn things. So if you guys have some stuff you want to impart to me, I'm more than happy to learn anything I can from you all. So anyway, the VA has 4 or 5 different areas of benefits. The first, compensation that we're going to talk about. Then there's pension, there's educational benefits, there's medical benefits, there's burial benefits. So those are the big 5 that the VA provides for people who served and are obviously veterans. So the first compensation topic we're going to talk about is people who are injured as a result of their service, okay? And there's 3 or 4 different types of compensation. The reasons for compensation are you were injured in the service. There's direct compensation, okay? You were in the service, you injured your back, or you were in Iraq, you got blown up by an IED. That is a direct reason for your injury. You were in the service, you were injured. And pretty easy to prove. Usually people that are injured in the service, they have medical treatment records that we can show. And to have an effective claim under this category, you need 3 things. You need a documented incident in the service. Okay, you were in basic training, you tweaked your back, you went to the hospital, they put you in traction, they gave you meds. It's bothered you ever since. So documented incident in the service. Then once you get out, you need a current chronic condition. Your back still has to hurt you, okay? And you have to get some medical documentation to that, unless it's within a year of discharge. And then a lot of times we don't have to do that. We can just file. And then you need a connection between the 2. So documented incident in the service, current chronic condition diagnosed, and then a connection between the 2. I would say most of the veterans in the olden days waited until later in life to file claims, which that doesn't happen too much anymore because I'm here at Solano County, and we have the Travis Air Force Base. That's probably the largest Air Force base on the West Coast that discharges about 40 people a week. So we have a person embedded out there who actually talks to them as they're still in the service, going through the TAP process. And we go through their service medical records, and we say, oh, you have injured your knee, you've injured your back, you have depression, you have anxiety, you have all these things that are a direct connection to the service. We file a claim on them, bam, they get service connected. This process takes 3 to 4 months right now. It's a lot faster than it used to be because the VA is doing a really good job. And what is really important is to make sure that you have a fully developed claim. You want a documented incident in the service. You need a current chronic condition diagnosed by your physician. The VA most likely will not do that for you, but they could. And then the nexus, the connection between what happened to you in the service and what's wrong with you now. A lot of times the VA won't do that. We send DBQs to the VA, and they more likely than not will not do that. They'll say, well, wait for the C&P exam. When I file a claim, I don't like to go in blind. I like to have your own personal physician offer a opinion about your injury, that it is service-connected. Because when you file a claim, if you leave it up to the VA to determine whether your injury is connected to the service or not, you're taking a big risk. Because probably half the time, or even more than half the time, they're going to say, nah, that's not connected. If you get your own physician to offer an opinion, you send the claim in, then what you've done is set the table where the doctor or the person who does the examination is in the unenviable position of having to dispute your own doctor. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to do that. If your doctor says your back injury started in the service, the guy who's going to see you for 20 minutes one time will probably not overturn that opinion. So that is direct compensation, okay? You had a direct injury. Now there's secondary, okay? Let's say you're service-connected for your knee, right knee is injured, okay, and it's service-connected. And you walk with an altered gait, you sort of limp. And that's throwing your whole body out of kilter. So your left knee starts bothering you. That is a secondary condition. Another issue could be you have diabetes. You had it in the service, or you were exposed to Agent Orange and you have it. And after having the diabetes for a while, you develop kidney failure, renal failure, or you develop peripheral neuropathy, numbness, tingling in your hands and feet. That is a secondary condition. So anything you're service connected for that causes something else, you can file a claim on. Again, we'd need to know what your initial service connection is, and then we would have to have your doctor, offer an opinion that, yep, that peripheral neuropathy is probably caused or contributed to by your diabetes. So we'd need that in writing. A DBQ, Disability Benefits Questionnaire, that's something that the VA offers, that we can get your physician to fill that out and offer an opinion that this is a secondary condition to your service-connected condition. That's golden. We can do that. There are also things called presumptive conditions for compensation. Presumptive conditions are normally, the biggest flood of those right now is the Agent Orange conditions. If you were boots on the ground in Vietnam, exposed to Agent Orange, and 50 years later you develop a heart condition, ischemic heart disease, that's a presumptive condition. All you have to do is prove two things. You were in Vietnam, boots on the ground, which presumes that you were exposed to Agent Orange, and then you have this condition, ischemic heart disease. That's probably the most common. It's a blockage, or people that have bypasses, stents, things like that. That's ischemic heart disease. It's a decreased blood flow to your heart. The second most common is diabetes. The third most common for men is prostate cancer. Then there's leukemia, lymphoma, any respiratory cancer, multiple myeloma, and Parkinson's disease. If you're in Vietnam and you have any of these conditions, there's 13 of them, there's about 5 or 6 that nobody gets, then you would be presumptively connected, service connected for those conditions. So it's very important when you do file a claim that you do it right. The last thing that you want to do is file a claim and have it denied, okay? Right now what we do is if we do have a claim denied, we try to reopen it with new and material evidence. You have 1 year to do that. If you file a notice of disagreement, you're into a 2 to 6 year process, and you would have to come up with probably some new evidence anyway. So it's better to come up with the new evidence if you get denied and just reopen the claim. There you're into another 3 to 4 to 6 month process instead of a 6 year appeal process. So I don't know how you want to do this, Lindsay, whether you want people to ask questions about compensation now, or we can move to pension. It's up to you.
Let's cover all of the benefits if you don't mind.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay,
all right.
Great.
So compensation, compensation, if you're at least 30% disabled, you get paid for your dependents. If you have children, a spouse, and you're 30%, you get extra money for them. And it depends how much you get depending on your percentage of disability. But at 30%, you get paid for your dependents. So it's very important. When anybody comes into my office, they say, yeah, I'm 30%. First thing I do is look up and say, oh, are you married? And they go, no. And I go, well, you're missing out on, I think it's $68 a month, something like that, for 30%. And it goes up after that.
So you're saying, Ted, the best practice is to get married if you're over 30% disabled?
No, it's probably going to cost you more than $68 a month.
Right, yeah.
And I've been married 4 times, so, we don't want to go there, but yeah.
Okay.
And I'm no percent. So anyway, the other factor about this is the character of your discharge. And if somebody is other than honorable, I still file anyway. And we see if we can get the VA to recognize that as a discharge that comes with VA services. If you're general under honorable, you're good to go. If you're honorable, you're good to go. If you're dishonorable, bad conduct, undesirable, I'm not going to file for you because you probably will not be awarded anything. But what I would do is try to get that character of discharge increased, upgraded to at least honorable status. Other than honorable is not honorable, but I've won cases numerous times where people, especially when they have mental health issues like PTSD, anxiety, depression, military sexual trauma, where they started acting out after they had that incident and they ended up with bad paper. If it's just other than honorable, we would still file. If it's something else and you've gone through a court-martial it's pretty hard to get those upgraded. So you need, go ahead.
There are organizations that do discharge upgrades and even OTH discharge upgrades. So that's also a resource that's available in California to people.
And we do that too, but like I said, you have to have a pretty good reason. If you just, I was using coke or meth, and you would have to have a really good reason for that, like death in the family, divorce problems, and 9 times out of 10 the service is not going to go for that, but they could. So you always want to try, but it's your odds of being successful there are not good. So compensation is you were injured in the service. There are some people who come into the service with a pre-existing condition, and like you had asthma, or usually not asthma, but you had a back injury, and it's good to go. It never bothered me for the last 20 years, whatever. So they let you in. Once they let you in, that is called a presumption of soundness. The service presumes that you are good to go. You had an injury, but it's not a problem now. And then after you're in for a while, bam, it's a problem. As long as you divulged it initially and told them about it coming in, and the service time exacerbates that condition, that's still service connection. We're going to file on that. If you didn't tell them that you had asthma, or you had a bad back, or you had knee problems earlier in your life, and then you get into basic training, and it goes south on you, and then they find out this was a pre-existing condition, that makes it a lot tougher to get it service connected. But if you tell them up front and it gets worse in the service, that is called a pre-existing condition exacerbation, and as long as you told them about it, you can be service connected for that. So basically that is compensation in a nutshell. There's some other presumptive conditions, especially for the newly discharged veterans. There are undiagnosed illnesses. There are illnesses connected to the Gulf War, to the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. A lot of them are centered around burn pits and things that happen to you in the service over there where you're exposed to different chemicals, unknown substances, and we always file on those. The other presumptive, the newer one, is people who are in the Marines, or even if you weren't in the Marines, if you were stationed at Camp Lejeune. They had water problems from about 1958 to the late 80s, and there's specific dates for that. And you have a laundry list of conditions that you have, mostly around cancers and liver problems and things like that, kidney problems. We would file on that. That is also a presumptive condition. If you were at Camp Lejeune and you have one of these recognized conditions, we're going to file on that in a heartbeat. So basically, one more that doesn't happen too often anymore is radiation exposure. That's also a presumptive. Or if you were a POW, there's a whole laundry list of conditions that happen. I mean, in one time in our history, we used to line people up on aircraft carriers and set off an A-bomb in front of them and ask them, now how do you feel? And most of them would say, not too good. A lot of them died, but some of them are still around, and if they end up with one of the presumptive conditions for radiation exposure, we file on them all the time. So basically, that's compensation. And we encourage anybody who is getting out of the service to make sure that all your injuries that you had in the service are well documented, that you go and get them documented if they're not. And you have 1 year after you get out of the service to file and get retro pay back to the date of discharge. So it's called the golden year. It's very important that the people who have just got out file that claim within a year to get that retro pay. And then a lot of times if you have a condition that, didn't happen overnight, like you just got out 3 months ago and you're diagnosed with diabetes, that doesn't happen overnight. So that would be a very good claim to get service connected. Traumatic injuries like back injuries, knee injuries, if you didn't report it in the service and you're 3 or 4 months outside of your discharge, that's hard to prove, but if you can relate it to something you did in the service, that we would do that. So basically, that's compensation in a nutshell. It's very important to get compensated, especially for younger people, because if you even have a 0% service-connected disability, you're eligible for the college fee waiver. And that is, basically 90% of your tuition goes away at any of our major universities, CSUs, or community colleges. So that there could be your biggest most prolific benefit right there if you have children. Some people come in here with 3 or 4 children. They get 10% for tinnitus, ringing in their ears. Bam. They just saved themselves a couple $100,000. So it's very important to get that service connection if you have it. And the closer that you file, closer the time that you file to your date of discharge is better. You wait 50 years, sometimes that's not easy to prove, and sometimes it is, but you just have to do it as soon as possible. I have people that come in here all the time. I got out 20 years ago. I hurt my back in the service. I said, well, why did you wait 20 years? Well, I don't know. I just didn't think about it. So, we have to be conscious about that and get that going as soon as possible. The other thing that Service Connection does, it opens the door to medical care. If you're at least 10% disabled, you get unlimited VA health care just for the cost of a copay. To see the doctor is $15, to see a specialist is $50, medications are $9. They're talking about lowering it to $5. So it could be a good thing. You get free hearing aids, $6,000. You get free eyeglasses. So it's very important that you get service connected if you can. All the money that comes from any VA benefit is tax-free, so you don't have to worry about that. If you get 20% or more, that automatically makes you eligible for voc rehab. And depending on what you want to do, that's usually pretty easy to get. Voc rehab is an extension of educational benefits. You end up with $700 to $800 a month to go to school. They pay your tuition, buy your books. In some cases, they'll buy you a computer and a desk and things like that. And the rationale there is to try to train you to get back to work. And so it's really good for people who maybe they got out for some reason without, maybe general under honorable conditions, didn't fulfill their whole commitment. They don't get the GI Bill, but they get a 20% disability. They can do voc rehab and go to school under that. So basically, that's compensation, very important. So I guess I could move on now to pension if you'd like.
Yeah, let's cover pension quickly and then really get into more information about filing an effective claim and I think denials, because I think that's where many people might have questions about denials.
Well, let's talk about that first then. Because like I said, to file an effective claim, you need a documented incident in the service. So if somebody comes into my office here, the first thing I do is, they say, yeah, I hurt my knee in the service, or I have depression and it's because of the service. Okay, so I need something that happened in the service that we could point to make that happen. I can send off for your service medical records. They come from the National Personnel Records Center. What we do is we fax them a form SF-180, and you can just Google that and do it yourself, request your service medical records. You can also request all your medals. You can request your personnel records. You can request all that. It's totally free. Sometimes it takes months to get, but if you just fax them that 180, you can follow up with a phone call, and I'll give you the number to call. It's area code 314-801-0800. So 314-801-0800. And that is the National Personnel Records Center phone number. And just, if you Google NPRC, National Personnel Records Center, they walk you through that process. So it's very important to have that documented incident in the service. Most people don't have their service medical records. Unless you're a recently discharged vet, you almost have them all the time. You'll have them on disc or have the hard copy. Either one works for us. And if we can show that something happened in the service, what I do is I make you go to your doctor, okay, and say, okay, 5 years ago, Jane Doe tweaked her knee in basic training. Here's the record, that we have it. I need you to state that she still has a knee problem, and more likely than not, that was the etiology or the beginning of that knee problem, or that initial injury contributed to the condition that she has now. Most doctors will do that. They will try to help you. And if I got that, I will submit a Form 2122, which is the power of attorney. You get to pick whatever organization that you like to represent you. I personally prefer Calvet because they have the long-term paid professional state working people who, that's their career. It's not just a temporary job, and they're pretty well paid and good benefits. So I have a really good working relationship with them. The other ones work fine too, the VFW, DAV, AMVETS, Vietnam Veterans of America, Purple Heart Vets, they all have reps up there in Oakland. So we get you to sign that POA to somebody, and then we file the Form 526EZ. And what that is a fully developed claim form. So you can't just put down on the paper, yeah, I hurt my knee in the service, it still bothers me, and send it in. You can do that, but that's how you get denied. So I want three things I want. I want that health record showing that you hurt your knee in the service. I want your doctor's letter saying that your knee is really bothering you now, and that more likely than not, that injury in the service was the start of it. If I get that, I send it in. I need a couple things that I need. I need your DD-214, and when you bring that in, I will also give you a form to get veteran put on your driver's license, and I will also need your bank account number. Unless you're already receiving benefits, I will need your checking account routing number and account number, because the VA only wants to do direct deposit. Now, if we do all that properly, within 3 to 4 months, you will get a notice from the VA, if everything is good, asking you to come in for an exam. And what we tell people is that when you go in there, you're going in there filing a claim that your knee is hurt. So you don't go in there and just start jumping around and saying, hey, how you doing, Joe? Well, I'm fine. No, you're not fine, okay? You hurt your knee. So you don't go in there and show them a good day. You go in there and show them what it's like when your knee really hurts. So you can't be Miss or Mr. Positive when you go in there. You have to show them, hey, this knee really hurts. When I walk long distances, it bothers me. It swells up. It's stiff. It gives out. So we don't want anybody going in there, stating everything is fine. If you do that, they're just going to say, okay, thank you, and then you're not going to get service connected because they're going to say you didn't demonstrate a disability. So we're not coaching you, or we're not telling you to do something wrong. We're trying to tell you how the system works and what to expect. And if you file a claim for disability, that's what you have to show them, that you are disabled for this condition. Same with hearing tests. You can't, try to get an A on a hearing test. You have to give them an honest response, but at the same time, you can't be, yeah, I think I hear it, and click the button or raise your hand, because you're going to give them a false positive, and that's what we're trying to stay away from. After you file the claim, within 3 to 4 months, you'll get a notice to come in for an exam. If they need more information, what they'll do is they'll send you a letter stating that, we couldn't file your claim under the fully developed claim process. And that doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. It just means it's going to take a little longer and that they need more records. They might ask for your treatment records at your hospital or your doctor's office, and that's a Form 21, 41, 42, and 41, 42A. You're going to have to fill that out. If you do that up front, that's going to take it out of the fully developed claim process, because that means there's other records that you want them to see. If you go and get those records ahead of time and send everything in at once, that would be very helpful. A lot of people don't do that or don't want to do that. Some hospitals charge you a lot of money to get those records. If you can just get a disc, Kaiser does that, and it's free or cheap, okay? So to get all your records on a disc and just send that in with your claim, that really speeds things up. So after the claim is adjudicated, you get a decision letter, and we can look this up on VBMS or SHARE. We have access to your records once you give us power of attorney. We can see how it's going. We can give you updates. If you try to call the VA at 1-800-827-1000, I think a lot of you have probably done that. It can be frustrating. They will call you back, but they have tens of thousands of people calling them every day, so they have to figure out a way to deal with that. But if you call us, we usually get your phone, we'll get back to you that day. We usually have access to almost everybody, unless you have no power of attorney, and then we can't. So we can give you an update. Once you get the decision letter, they're going to give you a rating from 0 to 100, or they are going to deny it. They're going to say it's not service-connected, and they'll tell you why. Or they'll say, your knee is 10%. 10%, you get $133 plus some cents a month. 20%, you get $263. 30%, depending on your marital status and dependent status, you would get $300 to $400 a month. And then we would get that letter, and you would come in, hopefully, and say, 10% is not enough. And if you look at the narrative part of that award letter, they will tell you, to get 20%, you have to demonstrate this, okay? And if you say, yeah, that's me in a nutshell, what we could do is just get your doctor to say, yep, that's what her knee is like. And then we would reopen that claim in another 3 or 4 months, go through the claim process again. And we wouldn't file an appeal unless we had to stay out of that 2 to 6 year process, but we would file to reopen that claim and try to get you the rating that you felt you deserved if you could document that you have that. So the other types of claims that we see a lot, military sexual trauma. I've won them with no proof, I've won them with some proof, and I've won them with a lot of proof. I've also lost all of them like that. But if I believe that it happened and you're convincing, we will continue to file that until we get to the Bureau of Veteran Affairs back in Washington, D.C. To get that, you need things that happen in the service, markers, they call them, or police report. I've had police reports. I've had, medical reports, hospitalization reports, buddy letters. If you can get letters from your friends stating, yep, that happened, we can do that. So in that, I would need to document that incident in the service through your statements, buddy statements, medical records, whatever. And then I would need your current physician to document what condition you have as a result of that, depression, anxiety, PTSD, and then we would let the VA do their thing. Not that hard to prove.
Yeah, Ted, I'd like to pause right there and go a little bit deeper into MST claims since I know that 1 in 5 women report to the VA that they've experienced or have MST due to an experience they had in the service. And I think a lot of women file for MST, and it is unfortunately a little bit of a larger burden of proof and threshold that is required to meet the criteria for being awarded the claims, as an ACLU lawsuit has shown with the VA, and as many people have experienced firsthand in being denied. The important thing is the markers with those claims, meaning that if a VA adjudicator, if a VSR at the VA can make the connection between anything that happened while in service that was a direct behavioral or physical change in the service member that experienced the sexual assault or rape or harassment to create or establish MST, that can be used as supporting evidence for this individual's claim. That can be an STD screening, a pregnancy test. It could be a really low personnel evaluation. It can be an abnormally high personnel evaluation. I've talked to women veteran coordinators with the VA who have adjudicated these claims and have said they can really find a lot of markers in someone's record if they're given the right thing to look for. So knowing better the date that it may have happened, where you were stationed, any information you can give about the incident, as painful as that may be at the time that you have to recall it, can be really beneficial to awarding your claim. And I think that's what Ted's getting at. It can be a mountain of evidence. It can be very little evidence, but definitely try and give your CVSO or your VSR as much information as you can that can help them submit a fully developed claim, but also give that adjudicator at the VA the opportunity to find those markers in your records.
Correct. And then other things that could be markers, all of a sudden you transferred for no apparent reason, or you went AWOL, or, just anything. And what's really important here is if you told somebody and they write you a corroborating statement, because the VA is going to say, well, where's your evidence? Okay, here, my sister, my brother, my mom, my dad, my best friend, here's their statement that I told them about this, because a lot of people don't tell anybody, and then that can be a problem. Now, I just won one for a lady who all she did was tell her husband, who ended up being her ex-husband. No police report, no nothing. 70%. So you can do this if you do it right and you fill out the stressor statement. And what's very helpful, I've never won one unless I had the person's treatment entity, like a psychiatrist, psychologist, write a nice statement about that and saying, yeah, that this is what she has and it was related to an incident in the service. And they will do that for you. Not so much the VA people, but the private industry. They're really good at at documenting this. Vet centers are very important. We have the Concord Vet Center and the Sacramento Vet Center in this area. Jeff Jewell will stand on his head in the corner to help you win an MST case, and he's excellent. And there's Mike there in Sacramento. He does the same thing. So we have female counselors there that just specialize in MST. So if you're thinking about something that happened in the service, you don't really want to talk about it, it's totally confidential. If you come in here, we will send you to Jeff Jewell. Again, it'll be totally confidential, and we will get this for you, if something like that happened. I've been unusually successful with men lately. I can't understand, why, but, the VA is just sort of, they're buying off on it. You need to fill out the same forms, the 2122, the 526. You also need a stressor statement. It's a 210958 for personal assault. And then, like I said, you always need the markers, as much evidence as you can get. We need a diagnosis from your healthcare practitioner and an opinion from somebody that what you have now is related to that incident in the service. And we can get that for you. So I just had a lady came in. She was discharged with under honorable conditions after like 8 months and it says right under DD 214, admitted homosexual. I went, oh, you must be joking. And that happened in 1987. And she's been living with that ever since, okay? And she was a good straight troop. She just went and told her first sergeant, I think I like women better. She never had sex with anybody, never did anything. He actually had her apprehended, put in jail, and then a week later she was discharged. And we won that. We got her discharge upgraded to honorable. She got her VA home loan, and she got 70% disability from the VA because it sort of changed her whole life. She's been in therapy ever since. So this can happen, both men and women. So very important. Come and see us and let us get the information for you. And sometimes you almost have to create it. You have to get the buddy statements yourself. So do we want to move on to pension, or do we have questions on compensation?
Well, we're right about 10:40, almost to 15 minutes left in our call. I want to cover a few things that you mentioned just to kind of recap some of these best practices that you're kind of giving people and ensuring tips and things like that. I think we've got one or two questions over our chat window that I'll pose to you as well, Ted, and then maybe we can open it up for questions. Now, the pension benefits is important to cover, but I think if someone really goes in and visits a CVSO or a VSR, then they can learn more about pension benefits then. Because I think a lot of folks are actually having more questions about claims they've already filed. So, best practices, folks. I'm learning a lot from Ted on this call today. I hope you are too. I had no idea, don't wait for the C&P exam with the VA. Get an opinion from your doctor, the practitioner that really should know you best. I think that's a great point to take away from this. And, people have done it. I think women do this a lot too. Don't go this alone. There's a lot of offices and resources here to help you. A county veteran service officer, there's one in each county. They can be a great resource to you. We can connect you with your CVSO. We work closely with these offices. We work closely with TED. A veteran service rep, if you'd rather go through your congressionally chartered organization like a VFW or a DAV, they also have representatives both on the ground that file the claims, the fully developed claims, and then they have offices in each of the California district offices that can follow up with the progress of the claim as well. Additionally, Calvet has district office representatives where if we have your power of attorney for a claim, which you can get through your CVSO office, then we can actually track that claim all the way through to completion and get some details and some advice for you as well as that process goes forward. We have a great relationship with our district offices. They're co-located with the regional offices of the VA in Oakland, Los Angeles, and San Diego, and makes it a very easy relationship for us to see where the claims are. Okay, a couple more things. Reopening a claim is better than filing an appeal and utilizing the notice of disagreement. I had no idea that was the case. If you have new evidence, then that's what's worth bringing to the table. In fact, Ted, we had a question about that. Someone asked, what if you're outside of the one-year window of denial and you have new and material info? Can you reopen that claim?
Yes, I mean, as long as it's within a year, because you have a year to file an appeal or reopen with new and material evidence.
What if you're outside of that 1-year window? Yeah.
Okay, after the year, then you just reopen, but you do need new and material evidence. The only difference is you lose the original date. Okay. So you won't get paid back to the date of filing if you let the year expire.
Okay. So yes, go through the process of reopening the claim. You present your new material evidence. Just know that that date now changes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another best practice is that understand you're demonstrating a disability. Don't go to your doctor to get an opinion. Don't go to your C&P exam and say, oh, everything's great. Yeah, I've got this issue, but it's not that bad. Really show the effects of what this service-connected disability and injury has done to your physical or mental health. Make that case for yourself. Be your best advocate that you can. And then I think finally the other best practice that I thought was absolutely great was vet centers are a fantastic resource for you folks. And we've actually done a webinar about our vet centers and how great they are. I think they're underutilized by us veterans. These are folks that can not only deliver confidential mental health treatment to you and support of many kinds, but also act as an opinion for you when you're trying to establish a service-connected disability, particularly for mental health, because they're not doctors that are going to evaluate you. But if you need to see a psychiatrist or psychologist or therapist, then these are the folks that can help you establish that opinion for the case of your claim. So keep that in mind. Okay, so let's see. From here, we did kind of an 8 steps to file a claim based on the research that my analyst, Julene, did. And so those 8 steps, Ted, we basically had, your claim's received, it goes under review, the VA gathers evidence, they review the evidence, they prepare for a decision, so that might be the point where they get back to you about more evidence that's needed. They get ready to make a decision, and then they give the veteran a notification, and it's a complete claim at that point.
That's
anything
it.
in that process that you can elaborate on, or?
Well, they schedule you for a C&P exam in that process too. So
okay.
That's very important what you tell the examiner, because that's the person that's going to give the opinion that this is a service-connected condition or not, or that it's worse than 10% or not. So that C&P exam is very, very important. So make sure you go in there, backing up all the original claims that you made with facts. Got it.
Okay. So from here, I'm just reviewing our claim process. So the last question I have for you, Ted, and then we'll open it up for questions. In Julene's research that she did in this process, everybody talked about the C-file and how important that was in your claim. Mm-hmm. Can you explain what that is?
Well, C-file it's now electronic. It's the file that I looked at mine. It goes back to 1970 when I first applied for GI Bill when I went to Sac State. Okay, they have everything that you've ever done with the VA in your C-file. They will have your service medical records. They will have your discharge. They will have anything that has to do, especially if you filed a claim or got a home loan or something. They request all that stuff from the National Personnel Records Center. So it's there. Like people come in, I've been trying to get my records for years. And if you filed a claim before, I said, well, here they are. I'll print them out for you. They're amazed. They have never seen these records. And here I just printed them out in about 30 seconds. And some of them are extended, so it takes longer than 30 seconds to print. But, your C-file has everything known to man, your C&P exams, everything. Now, it doesn't include, like if you go to the VA for health care or something like that, it won't have those records in it unless it relates to your claim. If it does, then we can see those too. So we also have people that work for the VA. They're called VJOs, Veterans Justice Outreach people. They work with us with the incarcerated veterans, and they have access to everything. So if we're really hurting for some records that you think you have that you can't see, we can get those for you from us or the VJO. So it's good to have access. But your C-file is everything that you've ever done through the VA and the military. If you filed a claim, they will swoop all those records up and put them in that C-file. So it's very important. It's electronic now, VBMS, Veterans Benefits Management System. Those of us that are accredited can see those without any problem.
Okay, so really go to your CVSO and make sure that you're talking to them about what you're trying to do with filing your claim. And then the C-file becomes a part of that because it's all that evidence that you've got.
Because we do get people that come in and say, yeah, I'm 20%. I said, what are you 20% for? I don't know. I think it's for hearing. So they don't know. And, well, do you have your award letter? Nah, that was like 10 years ago. I lost that. We moved several times. I can just go into their file and see everything they've ever done.
Okay,
so
great. So
you got to do that.
Don't let the lack of records basically bar you or prevent you from filing your claim or following up on it, in other words. Just
right.
because you lost your paperwork doesn't mean that all is lost here.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so I'd like to open it up for questions. If you have questions at this time, I don't want everyone to talk all at once. So how about this? Well, let's go by region. Do we have anybody on the call from? We'll start we'll start all the way calling in from Southern California and work our way up north. Is anybody on the phone from the San Diego area that wants to ask a question?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Actually, really quick, I wanted to know what the whole administrative review process means within a claim process or claim.
Well, administrative review means that, you've got probably the C&P exam done and you have all your evidence submitted, and then a rater looks over everything and says, okay, it's service connected at this %, and then you send it up. Now there's also administrative reviews for appeals also.
Oh, for an appeal. I was going to say what's interesting is I got the actual exam after I was given the rating, the disability rating. So it seemed like it was a little backwards, but it's been in the administrative review now for probably 8 months, for a while.
Well, a lot of times, is it a mental health issue or a physical?
Physical.
So did you just get out of the service?
No, actually, I've been out for over 20 years.
And you filed a claim, and they gave you a percentage without a C&P exam.
Correct. And then after the fact, I think what may have initiated it was that I went back asking for the time that it was effective, that disability rating was effective. I asked for it to be retroactive, and that may have maybe prompted more information or more review or what have you, but it seemed like it all kind of was backwards, and it's just been taking forever.
So did you ask for retroactive back to your date of discharge?
Not to the date of discharge, but to the date that I actually initially first filed the claim. Okay,
so it was denied, and then you...
Well, I haven't gotten a response yet. It went from it's gone all over the place, but the last stop has been administrative review. So I haven't gotten any response about the retroactive pay.
Well, I think that's probably what they're looking at is, if you filed and you had a good claim, they might have made a thing called a clear and unmistakable error, which would give you the retro back to that date.
Okay.
So that would be an example of an administrative review. If they're looking at what they did and they really messed up, called clear and unmistakable error, or Q, then they would pay you back to that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All righty.
Okay, so anybody else from the San Diego area? Okay, let's move over to Inland Empire. Anyone from Inland Empire region, Riverside, Imperial Valley, still covering part of the Southern California area? Okay, how about Los Angeles? Okay, let's move over to, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, my name is Danielle Hanna. I'm with US Vet. I was unmuting, so.
Okay.
I have a question. I have a female veteran that I'm working with. She works full-time, and she's the sole source of income for her family. And she can't take time off of work because of that. She doesn't have a computer or internet at home. So I took my laptop to her work on her lunch hour because I figured, okay, well, let's see if we can file her claim online. She said she has all of her evidence. She had her D-214 stuff from her doctor's office, everything. But when we tried to get in to actually file the claim online, that's when we started having problems because the site just didn't work.
Right. We get a lot of that where, today it works, tomorrow it doesn't. And what we do is we have access to SEP. You might have that too, Stakeholder Enterprise Portal. And that's actually the best way to file a claim if it works. So you download all the documents, the 526, the 2122, and all the supporting documents, DD 214, and they have it within 30 seconds. So that doesn't always work. So what we do is we just mail them hard copy. I mean, if it's a good claim, just print out everything and mail it to your RO there on Wilshire Boulevard, and that should do it. I mean, the electronic is good if it works, but it doesn't always work, and they'll admit that. So just to be sure, I would just snail mail a hard copy right over to 11,000 Wilshire Boulevard and make sure it gets in that way.
Okay. All right.
The other way you can do it is to fax it to Janesville, Wisconsin, the scan center. Are you familiar with that? That's where everything goes on the West Coast to be scanned. And I've done claims where I just, I scanned it to them and it shows up in the next, couple weeks in the VBMS. So, but just to be sure, I would mail it to whoever power of attorney you guys have with her over to Wilshire, and that you're assured that that's in.
Okay. Because I can't be the power of attorney because I'm not certified.
Yeah, you don't have to have her power of attorney. Just give her one. American Legion, AMVETS, California Department of Veteran Affairs. You just put it up there in that box right underneath her name, and so somebody can access. And like me, you could call me or she could call me with their social, and I could say, yeah, your claim is in. They're working it. It's going to the national work queue. They're developing it, whatever. But if with no power of attorney, then nobody can check on it.
Right. I guess that's where it's kind of broken down a little bit because I haven't been able to get anybody to go see her at work like I was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm just gonna have to, I guess, talk to some more people then.
Well, just get her to. I mean, if you got a laptop, do you have a printer along with the laptop?
I
just
don't.
Print out, or put in the information and have her sign it. Print it out. We have two ways we can do that with our laptop. We have a bamboo, where they can sign it just with their finger, or we can print it out and they sign it and then we just get it in. We do outreach with laptops all the time, but you almost need a bamboo or a printer to make that so they can just do it right there and you're done.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry, what form is it that I would have to, because I can print something at home and just take it to her. That's not a problem.
Yeah, 21526EZ is the basic claim form to file a new claim or to ask for an increase.
Okay.
I would also highly recommend that she visits the LA County CVSO. Maybe goes into Bob Hope Patriotic Hall or whatever county she's comfortable with going to. It sounds like there might be questions that need to be answered by an accredited individual as well. So if she's able, yeah.
It's just connecting her with those people. She won't take off work. She can't do it.
Yeah.
And so she's working during regular business hours. So that's that's the I went to her.
Yeah, I do claims by email. When people call me up, they're under that. And I get their email, and I email them the forms. They sign them, but they have to have either, they mail them back signed, or they scan them and get them back to me. But you can do this by email. They just have to be able to scan or mail you back the supporting documents and their signature.
Yeah, see, she doesn't have a computer, so.
Okay, so you got to boots on the ground, yeah?
Yeah, I got to get a little more creative
here.
Well,
print out the forms first, and then when you go visit her, have them sign her.
Mhm. Okay. I'll do that, and I'll get. Okay. Thank you very much for the advice. I really appreciate it.
All righty.
Yeah, give us a call anytime if there's anything else we can try and connect you with. Anybody else from LA area questions? Okay, let's move over to Southern Central California, Bakersfield area. Anybody?
I think you kind of skipped over the Central Coast.
I wasn't there yet. I was going to go to Central Coast. My geography is terrible. Okay, let's go to Central Coast.
I had a question. I know you keep harping on the year after active duty, but I went straight into full-time guard and then reserve. does it still count as the timeline being my active duty date, which was now a decade ago?
No. To get that, retro back to your date of discharge, you have to do that claim within the year of discharge. And, Guard and Reserve, you might still have some deployment, some active duty time in there if you get called up on Title 10 orders, but that doesn't start that, you'd have to do that within a year.
Well, we had the 5 year for, it was 5 years for Iraq vets. So I did that, and then it got discharged. Yeah,
that's for health care. That's not for the claim process. You had 5 years to sign up for VA healthcare without a means test if you were OEF, OIF. But that doesn't have anything to do with the claims process.
Oh, I thought it was told it was for that as well. It
No,
got denied anyway, but
just for healthcare.
Okay. All right, well, I'm screwed. Got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else from Central Coast? Okay, moving up to Central Valley. Anybody have questions from that area? Okay, how about Bay Area? Do we have questions from the Bay Area? All right, Sacramento area? Anything? Sacramento? Okay, and then north of Sacramento, so basically anything north of Sacramento, the Oregon border. Anybody? And if I missed anybody? Okay. Does anybody else have questions that they didn't get to, or comments or things to add to this conversation? Okay. So really, just to wrap up, I really encourage you folks to don't file the claim on your own. Seek out an accredited and trained professional to help you do this. You may think the claim process is easy and you can navigate it on your own. I know that that's the approach that I took, and it's not a good idea. But we really encourage you to find an office, County Veteran Service Office, which cacvso.org. You can locate your county office that way. You can also locate your county office if you go to our website, calvet.ca.gov. You can look up County Veteran Service Officer in the search box, or go to our Veteran Services Division page and find information about the CVSOs. Ted, people would like your contact information as well. Would you mind sharing that?
Okay, my email is my first two initials, T and E, like Tango and Echo, and then my last name, Puntillo, P as in Paul, U, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, I-L-L-O. So TEPUNTILLO at Solano County, all one word, SOLANOCOUNTY.com. And then my phone number is area code 707-784-6590. 707-784-6590. So call me or contact me anytime, and I will get back to you.
Thank you very much, Ted. So remember, file with somebody, file with an office, get some help for that. If you've been denied, if you're looking to do an upgrade of your claim, there still may be things you can do, like reopening your claim, presenting new evidence. So please contact us or contact one of your CVSOs to help with that. Our email is womenveterans@calvet.ca.gov. Our phone number is 916-653-1402. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the call since we're a little over our time here. I want to thank Ted so much for presenting and giving us some really good information and best practices. I really appreciate everyone that's participated on the call. I hope we were able to answer some of your questions. You're welcome to contact us with more questions and more details if you need it. And we look forward to seeing everybody in April. We'll do a call on the first Monday in April, again at 10 a.m., and hopefully give you another good webinar. And this webinar will be available by the end of the week on our website at calvet.ca.gov/womenvets. And then the last thing I'll do is make a plug for our reception next week here in Sacramento on Tuesday, March 15th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're having our reception in honor of Women's Military History Week, which is next week, proclaimed by the governor every year on the third week of March. Congratulations and thank you all for your service as strong women that have served. you get a whole week next week that you can celebrate and say, don't talk to me, I'm a woman vet, or, whatever you want. It's your week, so own it. But hopefully you're able to make our reception here in Sacramento. It's at the Mix downtown from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Otherwise, feel free to contact us. We look forward to hearing from you all, and take care. Thank you again, Ted, and we'll have this up for you all shortly to review if you need it. So bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.